Gary Abbott here with USA Wrestling. We're meeting with Sam Schmitz, head coach of the women's team at McKendree. Uh, Clearly, it's a big week for McKendree women's team, in that they get to have a really big competition this weekend against some of the best women's teams in the country. So, Sam, appreciate you spending a little time with us. I'd like to kind of start off with a question about what it's been like for you and your athletes and the school to kind of get this crazy season going during the challenges of COVID. College wrestling is happening, and you guys had to go through that experience. What was that like?
Man, at first I think it was a struggle and an adjustment, just like it probably was for everybody, of, how are we going to compete? How are we going to test? How are we going to practice? What is our practice makeup going to look like? Are we going to be in pods? Are we going to have, different practices, 2 practices, 1 practice? And, that was a little bit of the first piece to all of it. And then once we finally got dialed in with how we were going to go about things, I don't think we've really looked back. I think we've been very blessed and fortunate to have an extremely supportive administration who's like, hey, you guys, we know that you guys need to be wrestling. We know how important, this women's program is to our school. And that I think was huge, just to have their support and their love, to kind of make sure that we're practicing and able to compete and, have a budget and have the things that we need so we can have whatever we can salvage of a normal college season. We want to make sure we're trying to do that for these athletes and these kids. Because, they take a lot of risk coming to the Midwest, to a small town, and we want to make sure that they're able to have a college wrestling experience and compete and put that singlet on and be proud of where they go to school and where they train. And so it was tough for us at the beginning, but now I think we've got it ironed out, and we test 48 hours before competition. We're testing once a week out of competition. So we're there, and yeah, we're looking at the weekend like, man, it's finally back, and hopefully we can have some fun and enjoy it, and almost like a celebration, a coming back party to wrestling for us. So we're excited.
So, the NCAA schools, the women's wrestling, it has a lot of NAI schools and a lot of NCAA schools now, and the NAI schools were doing quite a bit of competition in the first semester, whereas the NCAA schools, not just the women, but the men, pretty much held their college season off until, January. But you guys were able to at least participate in some wrestling stuff with USA Wrestling in the fall. Is that correct? Were you able to keep your kids focused on that aspect of wrestling before the season really kicked off?
Yeah, I think that helped us kind of build our preseason time, where we had something to look forward to on the calendar. Where these kids really had an area where, hey, okay, this is something I can compete in. This is what I'm working for at this moment, in time, and trying to get myself prepared to be able to wrestle for 6 minutes, whether it was a USA Wrestling event or a college event. And I think we made the choice to just stick with that USA Wrestling event and go to Omaha and wrestle. We had a limited number of kids that we took. We were testing before that as well, and at that time was a tough time for us. I got out of quarantine the day that we left.
Okay.
The day that we left. So that was just an indication for us that, like, man, we're kind of going through it right now. We had some kids quarantine and some kids tested positive, and we're sitting out, and it was kind of a tornado of a time for us. And so once we kind of got through that, now it's a little bit better, where we've had some past positive kids that are still in that 90-day window. We've figured out our testing so that it can be a little bit more effective. But yeah, we definitely put that on our calendar at the beginning, and really wanted to focus on that so that we could get back to competition like everybody else, I'm sure, wanted to do. And it was good. We got to see some of our younger girls wrestle that we don't really have a whole lot of data on. We're trying to figure out how they respond to us as coaches, and what do they do well, and what do they need to work on, and how is their shape. All of the things that coaches look at, and it was a really good test for us, and it was perfect. And we were fortunate to be able to go, and it was a good experience. And now we're looking forward to the next phase of the college season, and then we'll go back to those USA Wrestling events in the spring.
So last year, your team was national champions in the NCWWC, the NCAA schools. A very strong performance, and most of your team is back, right? I mean, you've lost a couple of hammers, but what kind of goals are you and the girls setting for this year's college season? And what do you think is necessary to achieve those?
You know, I don't know if we try to focus more on the smaller goals and the goals that we can, you know, that are attainable on a day-to-day basis. Like, you know, am I doing better than yesterday? Am I a better wrestler and student athlete today than I was yesterday? And really trying to learn from the mistakes on a day-to-day basis. You know, did I make sure that I got up and get my extra run in yesterday? Hey, I didn't, so I need to fix that today. How was my effort at practice? It wasn't great yesterday, so I need to fix that today. And I think we truly try to just be better every day. And I know it sounds cliche and people are like, yeah, right, he's probably in there screaming, we need to be national champs and whatever, but it really isn't the case. We really try to focus on the small things. And then hopefully that can build us into, you know, kids who have good habits and are doing the things that they're supposed to do in the classroom and on the wrestling mat. And then when we go out and wrestle on the weekends, you know, we get to show people if we've been doing the right things and working, or we need to go back and fix some things. And, you know, last year it just happened that we had a good weekend and we got a lot of great kids who work hard and, you know, we'll see when the dust settles when we're there, and, you know, we'll lay our cards on the table like everybody else and see how we do. But, you know, we do have a lot of great kids, great talent, but also good students. You know, they work hard, they trust each other, and they trust us as coaches, and we just try to prepare them for whatever, you know, just like this weekend, we'll see if we're prepared. And when that weekend comes, we'll see if we're prepared.
So two of your national champs, you know, graduated out, but have stick around as volunteer coaches, right? You got Alex Vlade there, you got Alexia Ward. What kind of resources are they to you and to the team by staying around and continuing to be part of the McKendree family now moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. You know, we're a fairly young program still. This is our 8th year, and you know, for kids like that to stick around, I mean, it really makes me proud to see where they've come from and how they've turned into the amazing young women that they are. And they have, you know, and they have their own things in their own life that they're now doing. Alex is engaged and Alexia is starting their own business, and you know, they're doing things outside of just coaching wrestling. But it's amazing for these young girls to be able to sit there and listen to these two, and Gabby as well. I mean, the same kind of experience. Sure. That, you know, the struggles that they had, you know, the struggles that they had as young freshman college athletes, and how they manage those things mentally and physically, and to end up being the great athletes and great young women that you see today. And it's, I mean, it almost brings it, honestly, it kind of brings a tear to my eye, because it's just to see the struggles that they had, the good and the bad, you know, the good and the bad things that they went through, and to see what they are. There's no words to describe it, that the young girls on our team, what they get from those three people. And it's a blessing. It really is to have them around, because number one, the girls get tired of hearing me all the time yelling and screaming at them. So it's nice that they get to, you know, have three sane people that actually can, you know, maybe teach them something. So
you mentioned the word freshman, and I know people know Cam Guerin, nationally caliber athlete on the senior level already coming into your program. Talk about your freshmen, the young kids that people may not have seen last year that are going to be impactful as part of the program this year.
Yeah, we have a little 101 pounder named Lizette Rodriguez, who's an absolutely amazing kid to have around. Works hard, extremely talented, California state champ, who, you know, is going to surprise some little girls hopefully this weekend and moving forward. I mean, she's tough, and she has some great workout partners she gets to be around every day that push her and hold her accountable. We have a transfer from Missouri Baptist. Her name's Aaliyah Rollins. She's a 116 pounder, and she's going to be right in there with Felicity, hopefully making some noise. You know, we have Haley Cox, who who was on the USA Wrestling circuit for a long time and took some time off, and now is a freshman with us and will wrestle 130 with Cam Guerin, who's also a 130 pounder who everybody knows and has had a ton of success at the the world team level, and made some world teams and tried to win some medals, and and then we have some girls even more. We have Emily Patnode, who's a California former California state champ, took third last year for Gilroy High School, and is extremely competitive and gonna make some noise as well. And just to name a few, we have a lot of kids on our team, from all over the country that are just waiting to kind of make a name for themselves and get out there. And this weekend hopefully is a good chance for them to kind of show people what they got, and see what college wrestling is like for women. And they're excited. They're excited, and we're excited to finally see them actually wrestle and not just beat each other up in practice.
Yeah, I can imagine, man. So you and I were talking when we set up the interview, and you've been known to redshirt girls strategically, and it's been really helpful for the athletes in some cases to go through that experience. But pretty much this year, you're not even worrying about redshirting anybody, right? You said everyone's wrestling. Talk a little bit about the philosophy there, and just the opportunity because of the NCAA rules, right?
Yeah. I think we just need to be out there wrestling. I mean, everybody wants to. Even this weekend, people want to look at, it's a big duel and we're wrestling good teams, and yeah, that's great, and those teams are good, but at the end of the day, we just need to get on the mat. We need to get. Usually by this time, we got girls, 15 matches or so, right? We've wrestled in the Missouri Valley Open, and we've wrestled national duels, and we've done some things already by this time of the year. And now our focus needs to be just getting mat time. And so, we don't need the redshirt. Thankfully, we'll get this year back for these kids, and that's a great thing for them. They're only going to get about a 2-month college season, and then they'll be able to get it back next year. But while we're in this 2-month college season, we need to try to get the most out of it and get them on the mat and find people that want to wrestle, and do whatever we can to make sure that they are getting the quality college season that they deserve. So.
Yeah, and you mentioned this weekend, and that's one of the reasons why I want to chat with you today. Preseason coming in, Simon Fraser had a #1 ranking, but they canceled their season. And then going forward to the NCAA schools, the top 3 schools that are in wrestling on the NCAA level for women are getting together at King. And you guys are going down to King along with Emmanuel. And just kind of tell me what kind of challenge that's going to be for you and your team, to really go up against some stiff competition at this point of just getting back into it, right?
Yeah. I mean, they're tough. All 3 of those teams are very well coached, and their coaches are good recruiters and good coaches, and prepare their teams well. And we're going to have to be ready. But I think our kids are embracing it. I think they know, hey, let's just know where we're at right away, right? But why wait? Let's know exactly where we're at. Let's compare ourselves to the other good teams that are out there, and throw our hat in the ring too, and just see what we got. And again, for us, the motto has always been, and it will continue to be, we go and we compete hard, and then we reevaluate and see what we did well, what we need to work on. And as long as we can keep that mindset, no matter who we're wrestling, I think we'll have success at the end of the year, and hopefully turn that into success, making world teams, and getting these kids back into, wearing that USA across their chest that they're so excited about doing and proud of when they get that opportunity.
So, I mean, you've been coaching for a while, and you know how the women's wrestling college scene has been, right? In that we're building some, right? And
yeah.
I'm getting a sense in the last year or so that people are actually starting to understand and follow and appreciate the college scene for our women. Are you sensing that the world is starting to figure out what a good thing this is, and who some of these athletes are because of the attention that maybe the women are getting now that they didn't have when you started your career?
Oh, yes. I mean, I'm married to one, right? Where, I'm married to a women's wrestling superstar, who won 3 national titles of her own in college, and only lost to Helen Maroulis in the finals one of those years, right? And so she even says it all the time to me. She's like, these kids, they don't even know that how amazing it is, how much attention they get that we didn't have. They didn't have that. And it's not to say that, it's not a bad thing. It's just amazing. She looks at it as like, it's incredible, and she loves it. And I love it too. And I know these other coaches love it, and these kids love it, where people are starting to see, man, these girls can wrestle, and you need to start taking them seriously, because they work just like everybody else. They battle, and they're starting to see that same thing. Like, oh, these are NAIA teams, these are NCAA teams. Oh, that team's good, and this team's good, and man, they got a good coach, or whatever it is. And it's starting to be fun. There's starting to be a little bit of rivalries, and and our girls, they came to me the other day. They want to wrestle Campbellsville. They came and said, hey, we want to wrestle Campbellsville. And I thought they were joking, but they said, no, we want to wrestle them. So we're trying to make that happen. And maybe this will help, right? They want to say, hey, they're a good NAI team. Let's see how the two divisions stack up. And it's becoming fun. And that's a fun way, right? It's not an angry thing or anything else. They just want to compete. And I know Campbellsville will want to compete. So we're going to try to make that happen and see what we can do. But it's fun, man. It's starting to be fun, seeing how competitive these kids are getting and how awesome these other programs are becoming, and how exciting they are to watch as well. So it'll be cool. It'll be a fun weekend. I hope some people tune in and pay attention. Hopefully we do well, but either way, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a blast to kick off the season.
Now, you mentioned in our discussion earlier about the pride the girls take that are from your school to get to wear the USA, right? Obviously, I think of Alex Flauto when she was wrestling there as an undergrad and going out and getting a world level medal for the United States. And you've always been very active with your teams doing the spring and summer stuff with USA Wrestling and trying to get your athletes the opportunity to travel the world and represent our country. How important is that for your program and for the development of college women's wrestling to have that tight connection?
It's the focus. It really is. That's where the kids want to be. The winning national titles is something that we hadn't had the whole time we were here, and since we started this program. So that was a goal as well, winning tournaments and winning college national titles. But always the focus has been to make a world team, is that's what these kids want to do. And it doesn't mean that it diminishes anything else that they accomplish, but it just means that that's what their focus is. That's really at the pinnacle of what they're trying to do. And through that process, through that focus on that goal of making a world team, they're going to have a lot of success at the college level. And we push that a lot. We push that a lot. A lot of these, I feel as though as a coach and as a program, we should not be stopping, kids who have been, whether they started wrestling when they're 7 or 8, or they just started wrestling a year ago. If their first dream was to, hey, I want to have USA across my chest and I want to wrestle in another country, or, I want to be one of those girls. I want to be Erin Golston or Victoria Anthony or Adeline Gray or, Allie Reagan. I see those girls and I see how awesome, it is for them to win medals and do those things. I want to do those things too. So if that's what the kids want to do, we're going to hold them to it. We're going to push them to try to accomplish those things. And in the process, we're going to have a lot of college success too. But yeah, it's important for us to be at those things, not only for the development of women's wrestling, but for the dreams and goals and visions for these kids, and the visions that they've had of their own careers. We want to make sure that we're helping them accomplish those things that they have set out for themselves.
Well, Sam, I really appreciate you making the time for us. Clearly, going out in your truck so it could be quieter and making sure we were able to hear what you're saying. You say there's some chaos in the house, right? But anyway, I want to thank you for what you're doing for women's wrestling, for the college scene, for your athletes, and also just wish you a good weekend. I'm going to be watching closely and letting people know what's going on when the 3 top NCAA teams in the nation come together on one weekend to say, hey, college wrestling is back, right? And certainly I know we'll see you pretty soon at a lot of different wrestling competitions, and just want to thank you for being part of our family.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Gary, and thank you to yourself and all those people that follow our program, and our coaches and our kids. They love it, and they're very, very blessed to be able to have another opportunity to compete. So we're excited, and thank you guys for following us, and thanks for taking the time. I just wanted to make sure my house was quiet. I got one sleeping, and my wife is a nanny for another, so there's another one in there. So I just wanted to make sure I wasn't angering my wife, because everybody knows she's kind of tough.
Yeah, I wouldn't mess with her myself, but she got some pretty good throws, I've been told. That's awesome, Sam. Well, you be well, and we'll talk again real soon. Okay, bud?
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Take care.